We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email john@nufcmatters.com to arrange today. Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters with myself and Supermac, Malcolm MacDonald. Good evening, Malcolm.
Hi, Steve.
Good to see you. Change of formation for us like it was for Newcastle last weekend. Gibbo out working tonight, but we'll come to the change of formation in due course. But let's pay respect, first of all, Malcolm, to somebody you knew well, Viv Busby, who we lost today.
Yes, well, I played with Viv at 2 different clubs, both Luton Town and Newcastle United, because he came up on loan from Luton Town and had the dreadful misfortune to be involved in the debacle at Hereford, and ironically that it was his cross that came over to the far post, and I headed that in and put us 1-0 up, and then of course later, Hereford scored 2 goals and we were knocked out. And the board were in no mood to sign any players at the time. And poor old Viv, he was the one that suffered by that. He had been absolutely terrific playing for Newcastle, absolutely terrific, really. And this Hereford debacle was the knell of doom for him, I'm afraid. But of course, he went on to join Dennis Smith, and they were at Sunderland as manager and coach for many years, and did very well there, I thought.
Yeah, sad passing of Viv Busby today, as I say, quite prominent with Sunderland, of course, but also a slight loan spell at Newcastle, which didn't quite work out. But somebody who Malcolm knew well, and we wish nothing but the best for his family, and condolences to them and everybody affected by it.
Yeah, he was such a nice fella. He was very dedicated to the game of football, and not just to himself, but to others. He was always happy to work with others, and I never saw him or witnessed him coaching, but I would imagine that he was a very good coach, a very generous coach, and would turn.
Newcastle United visited Burnley last weekend. I was quite confident on last week's show. I did feel Newcastle would get a result. I took 3-1. We ended up winning 4-1. A good performance, that, Malcolm. Comprehensive, doing what you should do to teams at the bottom, scoring goals. Unfortunately, didn't manage to keep a clean sheet, but it was a great result with results going our way again last weekend.
Yeah, I almost felt that there was some criticism of Newcastle for that first 15 minutes, but that's often the way as the away side. What you do is you say, right, we don't let them score first 15. And so Newcastle just made sure they were absolutely strong at the back, and weren't going to give anything away at all to Burnley. And after that 15 minutes, the initial 15 minutes, then Newcastle they came out and they really started to play, and in doing so, just left Burnley way behind, left them way behind, and you know, there's a saying that class will tell, and by heavens, Newcastle showed some class on the day, and some of the football was absolutely fantastic, and where they'd sort of weathered a little bit of a storm in the first 15 minutes, but you so often get that when you're playing away, and you just have to deal with it, make sure you give nothing away, and then look to turn it round. And Newcastle turned it round very, very quickly, and we're on top from the moment they did turn it round after, and about the 15th minute, and it was just Newcastle all the way from there, all the way. And I thought some of the football was terrific, the goals were terrific, everybody worked so well together, and Newcastle United, when you're the opposition with Newcastle as the next side to face, you look at the forward line and the pace that there is in Gordon, Isak, and whoever is on the right, that and the very quick passing football that we're able to accomplish, and it's a quite frightening prospect, certainly for those in the in the lower half of the table. And of course we've got we've got a side coming up on Saturday, who they like to play themselves. It's going to be a very interesting game of football, is that, on Saturday.
Let's just look at the change of formation last week. 4-4-2 was the formation. He went with a 2 up front, which, again, I didn't get any inside information, Malcolm. I was just saying I hoped he did do that last weekend. I felt that if we took the game to Burnley, I felt if we took the game to Burnley that we would get a result. We did. I mean, it's horses for courses, but I mean, did you gain anything from watching the two of them together? I thought that partnership looked impressive again. And I know we can always get carried away when it's a big result, you know, against a team which is, you know, fighting relegation. But they still have to do the job, you know. It's still 11 against 11. And I just thought they complemented each other. That's what I meant. We had, you know, Wilson getting in, getting physical, took his goal well. You know, he was in the right place at the right time after Isak's initial shot. But I just felt that we got a different side to Isak with his striking partner alongside him.
Yeah, there's quite a beauty with those two playing together. One is that if you watch Wilson carefully, he literally plays in the two tram lines that go from the edge of the 6-yard box either side and go right the way down the pitch to the other 6-yard box, and he plays in that very central area, and so that means that Isak can just go roaming. So when Isak plays on his own, he doesn't go roaming quite as much, but against Burnley he did. He went roaming and he was finding space all over the place. And Wilson is the ideal man to be on the end of anything that Isak creates, and not just what Isak creates, but everybody was creating on the day. I thought it was absolutely fabulous to watch as they turned that game around from the 15 minutes onward. It was terrific to see, and thoroughly entertaining. I think I can't imagine that there wasn't a Newcastle United fan who was really purring over what they were witnessing there at Turf Moor, and so they work well together. I don't think Isak is that sort of dynamite type finish that we see when he's on his own. But nevertheless, Wilson, he is one of the best finishers in the game. It was interesting. I saw a list, and I've not really had the time to really go through it. But it was taking goals to the number of chances. Yeah, and Wilson is second in the Premiership to Haaland. Yeah, so it's goals against number of chances, and Wilson second, and that tells you that that he will get on the end of chances and he doesn't miss. As simple as that. So and he picks up all sorts of things, as we saw from the first goal against Burnley, which got us off to a really lovely start to the Newcastle hour and a quarter of absolute possession and free flowing football. So yeah, thoroughly enjoyable.
Happy birthday to Gary V in the chat, Malcolm. I think we can say happy birthday to him if you don't mind.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Harry B, did you say?
Gary V. Gary.
Oh, Gary V.
Yes.
Oh, right. Well, yes, Gary V. Happy birthday indeed. And I think your best present will be 3 points on Saturday. So we'll see if we can get a ribbon round them.
Fingers crossed. Stephen Kennedy, good evening, says, Mal, Murphy's doing everything you said. He was good year after year. I mean, you mentioned who was on the right side. It was Murphy. And Murphy, you know what? Against the lower league teams, against the lower teams that we should be beating, he comes in, he does a job. And I mean, I could pick him out as a star performer. I think at the weekend he had a great game, 2 assists.
Yeah. I think people are now starting to see what my argument was when Almiron was occupying that spot. And Almiron, busy as he is, as much running as he doesn't create. Murphy is all creation, and he will look to knock really dangerous balls into the opposing penalty area, gets great crosses in. He's terrific on free kicks. If he gets on around the edge of the box, he's got a hell of a shot on him. And he's turned games for Newcastle, into Newcastle's favour as the season's progressed. And I've got an awful lot of time for him. He's not that slick control merchant that sometimes fans like to see. He'll make the odd mistake, but so what? On the plus side, he scores goals, he makes goals, he creates danger all of the time. And if you were to ask Newcastle forwards who they would like to play with on the right-hand side, I bet you they'll say Murphy every day of the week, simply because they know for sure he will get a supply into the box. And that good crosses that come in, really good crosses.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's been great to see his progress again over the course of over the last few months. Certainly, somebody who's benefited, I think, from Eddie Howe's management. I want to give special mention to Sean Longstaff. He's had a lot of criticism, Mal, again this season, but he scored 7 goals, and the goals he scored have been crucial. And that was another good goal, and arriving in the right place,
brilliantly, didn't he?
Right place at the right time, Malcolm.
Yeah.
And I am a Sean Longstaff fan because I can see what he does. He does the dirty work that other people just don't see, Malcolm. And he scored some goals. I know we're running out of games. It would be great. It would have been great if he'd hit double figures this year because he's deserved it. Maybe he would have had he not been carrying the injury that he has been.
Sure. Yes, it would be marvellous. And you're right. I do think that he had been carrying an injury. I think he's free of it now by the look of his performance against Burnley. And he looked like the old Sean Longstaff that we knew from last season and the first half of this season. Yes, I've got a lot of time for Sean. He puts in a huge amount of running. He really does. But the beauty of him is that whenever a defender or a midfield player suddenly gets the ball to their feet and they look up, there's Sean. Guaranteed he will be there saying, give me the ball. And so he's always that outlet for when somebody suddenly finds themselves on the ball and they're looking around as to what they're going to do next. Sean is always the first option. And that's a special talent. You'll see him working from one box to the other all of the time. He's up and back, up and back. He's almost tireless over the 90 minutes. And so where he's been a bit off over recent weeks and maybe even months, I'm pretty sure that he's been carrying a niggle of some kind that slowed him down, that's affected his game, altered his game, not for the best. But I felt against Burnley, he was injury-free and he looked the old Sean Longstaff at work, and he got a hell of a goal. And didn't he take it beautifully? So calm, just a lovely little side foot into the far corner, and that was lovely. It was the perfect finish to a lovely move that had developed all the way from the back nearly.
Stephen says, was Longstaff's performance at Burnley up a notch because he had a full bench after his place? I just think it's because his injury's probably on the mend, and like Mal said, I don't think it's anything to do with pressure. I just think he played well. He plays well. Yeah,
absolutely. And you look at the bench. Is there anybody on that bench who can actually do that amount of running? Who can and count the number of touches that he has in a game? And he'll probably be getting more touches than anybody. And he just plays it very simple. He just gets people into the game. He works hard for them. Not only will he produce that last killer pass, which we've seen him do a number of times, but he can also get into the box and finish, as we saw against Burnley. And you can't ask for a bit more. It would be lovely. It really would, if he were to get double figures. It would be marvellous. And what is he on now at the moment then, Steve?
Seven goals.
Seven.
He needs
goal a game for the rest of the season. That'll do. Come on, Sean, we're not asking too much.
A hat-trick against Manchester United will do me, Mal.
Yes. Oh, well, yeah, if he wants to do that, for sure.
Big thanks to everybody watching. We're broadcasting for a change again on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, as well as YouTube tonight. If you're watching on any of those other mediums, please consider coming over to YouTube and hitting the subscribe button. We are about 10 subscribers away from hitting the 52,000 mark, so we will be finally at that magic figure, which is within St James's Park. So please, if you can, if you're watching on another platform, hit the subscribe button tonight. That would be great. Robert Maltman, who has created our wonderful new flyers, big shout out to him. He says, will Newcastle secure a 5th spot and Europe? It's in our hands. It's in our hands, Mal.
Well, yeah. This is interesting because Tottenham have got a fairly difficult run in. Did you see them play against Liverpool?
I did, yes. Yeah.
They were absolutely shocking for the first hour. And Liverpool, you could see Liverpool, they were almost sniggering behind their hands at the inabilities of Tottenham. And I was just surprised that Tottenham were able to come back with 2 late goals and make it 4-2. And that shows the difference between Liverpool and us. We keep a clean sheet. and win it 4-0. So yes, I think Tottenham are catchable. I really do. I know we've got Manchester United still to play. They are in utter disarray, and not just disarray, but I'm getting the feeling, and quite a strong one at that, that players are falling out with each other, both on the pitch and off the pitch, and it's the off the pitch goings on that find themselves creeping onto the pitch with the players, and so it's very easy to see that there is an awful lot wrong at Manchester United. They're in serious disarray. Now, we've already been to Old Trafford this season already, and we've won there. It would be lovely to go and do that again. And if memory serves, this is the next game after Brighton, isn't it? Yeah, and then Brentford, of course, is the last game of the season. So okay, so we finish with 2 away games after the Brighton game on Saturday, but I don't think we should worry too much about that at all, because the way our form has gone, the way we are playing at the moment, dear me, we are frightening for opposing sides to try and deal with. And the one I've always said throughout my career as a player, and as a manager, and dealing with newspapers and what have you, I've always said the most dangerous thing in the game is pace. If you are quicker than the opposition, how do they stop you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, there are ways, if you've got somebody who's absolutely superb in the air, there are ways and means to deal with that. But pace is something that, oh dear me, you just can't handle if it's used properly.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We need to focus, as Eddie Howe will do, on our just one game at a time. We need to beat Brighton. If we beat Brighton and Arsenal beat Manchester United, that leaves us with a 5-point gap, doesn't it, between us and Manchester United?
What? Yes, but beware Chelsea. They are suddenly on a run, and they are seriously playing some stuff. And so what I think, we need to beat Man United, and there is no reason why we cannot finish this season taking maximum points from the rest of our games.
Yeah.
Now, if that's the case, then not only do we stay where we are, but there is every possibility that we will go above Tottenham and finish in 5th place. Great. Wonderful if we do. I think that if that were to be achieved, it will be one of the best seasonal performances by Newcastle United in their history, for the simple reason that we have had so many players missing through injury, and how all the other players who have gone into the side, who are fit, how they've coped with it, I think is absolutely brilliant. And I'll give you an example. One of the players that I can be quite critical of is Kraft. But Kraft, he's come in, he played a game at right back, then he was moved to centre half because of yet another injury, and he's just dealt with it. Thank you very much. He's dealt with it, and we've been winning games. Very few goals have been conceded by Newcastle whilst Kraft has been in there, and I think, well, good for you. I have criticised you in the past, but you're doing brilliant at the moment. And also I have to say that Dan Burn, he has been absolutely superb, and I think it's not just what he's doing as a player, but he's almost taking a leadership role, keeping everybody right, because he's got youngsters in the fullback roles, and so he's taken command, and I like the way that he's done it, and it's certainly very effective. But also, what I would say is that Tino Livramento, he is just getting better and better and better and better every game, and he started on a high in the first place. I know that Southgate was recently at St James Park watching, and I hope that he's taken note of Livramento, because if anybody really deserves to get into the England squad and be given a crack at an international career, it's him.
Yeah, Malcolm. We have reached the halfway stage. We will be back. We've got a few questions lined up, I think, from people in the chat, but we will be back after the ad break with them. A big thanks to all our sponsors: Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website skipsandbins.com, easy contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. Their website, mrvickies.co.uk, telephone 01768 210 102, or email info@mrvickies.co.uk. Thanks to United Group Travel. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. Their website, unitedgrouptravel.com, email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com, telephone 01670 632 460, or mobile 0791 666 4174. Thanks to Media Arts for the technical side of things. And you can also find us as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or other podcast providers. You can subscribe to the channel by hitting the subscribe button underneath this video. Hit the all notifications bell so you don't miss a show. Hit the thumb up to like the channel, and click share to share to your social media. If you want to join the channel, then click join for as little as $1.99 a month. If you want to become a member, for a one-off £25 payment, email john@nufcmatters.com or go to membership at the website nufcmatters.com. If you've got a smartphone, hold your camera over the QR code and it'll take you straight there. We also help the food bank on this channel. Go to nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk to the matchday bucket and you can leave a virtual donation today. Don't forget as well, end of season party, 20th of July, 5 till 8. Supermac and Gibbo, Ask George, and Trev and Gaz from the Longstands live on stage. Tickets are a tenner from nufcmatters.com or newcastlelegends.com, and the money is in aid of Dementia Matters. And Rob Lee is at the City Hall. Get yourself on the Ticketmaster website, ticketmaster.co.uk. That's an evening with Rob Lee, one night in Antwerp at the City Hall, Friday the 2nd of August. And last couple of weeks of the season, we'll see me, Rai and Ted wind down on Toon Radio, 7 till 9 in the morning on DAB, smart speakers and the toonuk.com. And that is Monday to Friday. Thanks to most of you in the chat there who comment on a regular basis on the morning. Good to have you in and involved in that. Okay, we did get a few questions in the first half of the show. A couple of personalised ones. Alan goes, does Malcolm recall sitting in the Gallagher end as Ashley had barred legends from attending the match? So Malcolm had to pay Henry, I believe. He used to sit behind me and we'd chat on the stairs going out. Remember those good old days with Mike Ashley, Mal, when certain players weren't welcome?
Yes. I think I got barred about 3 times during Ashley's reign. And one of them was for 18 months. And
wow.
for my involvement with the Evening Chronicle. And it was very frustrating because I just had to try and find any way to get into the ground because on the main door there was a big McDonald has no entry. It was like printed on the stewards' foreheads.
Unbelievable. Okay, and moving on from those miserable times, Mick Mullane says, what do you reckon, Malcolm, on Joselu scoring 2 in the Champions League semi-final last night?
I know, it's amazing, isn't it? And he's scored other important goals of late as well. And you just think how they think the world of him at Real Madrid. You know, when you think that what we saw of him at Newcastle was so horrendous, how on earth does Real Madrid go and sign him? But they did. They have faith in him. They stick him into big matches like last night, and he finishes up scoring. And I think it was 88 and 90 plus minutes that they overturned things against Bayern Munich. And well done him. Well done, because I honestly never felt on what I'd seen of him at Newcastle that he ever had it in him to score a reserve goal. Never mind a goal in the Champions League semi-final of all things. And who knows what he's going to do in the final.
Exactly. Yeah. Thanks to Steve Hasty for this message this morning. He said that Chris Wood can become Nottingham Forest's all-time leading goal scorer this weekend against Chelsea. He needs 94 goals, Malcolm. He knew we were doing the show together, you see. So, people knew I'm a Chris Wood fan. I think they just like to have a go at me, Mal.
Oh, only 94, eh?
Barry, good evening. He says, Malcolm, do you think we'll sign our centre-back targets? Of course, Kelly from Bournemouth and Adebayo from Fulham is another one. Both been linked. Barry's worried that Kelly's more injury-prone than the lad from Fulham. But yeah, I mean, what's your feelings? What's your feelings on those two potential transfers coming into the club early on?
Yeah, I've seen Addy. Yeah, and I have a job saying this.
We'll just call him we'll call him Torsen on this show, Mal.
Yes, okay. I've been quite impressed with him this season, I have to say. Kelly, yes, but he has got this this injury problem, and that's the last thing we need to bring into the club after this season with all the injuries that we've had. But if he's fit, then good luck to him. And of course, the manager, Eddie Howe, will know him very, very well from his time there. So he knows exactly what he's doing. And of course, it's key that we get in the right kind of defenders who can do that superb job where they leave the rest of the side to go and attack. So they've got to take an awful lot of responsibility on in the side. And good luck to them if they do sign. It'll be very, very interesting to see. But it's good that we look as if we're going to move early. I always feel that move early and you get yourself set up for the season, and you never know what might still happen in terms of the transfer market as well. You know, that get two players in, and you know exactly where you stand with the spending limits that apply to clubs and what have you. So Newcastle will know where they are, but they've strengthened the defence already. Yeah, it'll be good business.
Good evening to C. Dan Smith. He says, Malcolm, I've still got the autograph I got from you from outside the baseball ground in the early 1970s when we beat Derby 1-0.
Oh, my word. Yeah. What? Oh, what? The ground was it looked well worn, but the pitch was even more worn. It was a hunt the blade of grass job at the baseball ground. It really was. It was just completely bare. And to go to Derby in those days and win, that was quite a feat. It really was. That Brian Clough and then later Dave Mackay, they had Derby so brilliantly set up. Oh, what a side they were! And of course, that their defence had the best pairing of centre halves that I had ever played against, and that was Roy McFarland and Colin Todd. Oh, what a pairing they were! My word. Roy McFarland was absolutely hard as nails and just went for everything. And he would do as much damage to himself as he'd do to the opponent that he was tackling. And Colin Todd, he was the quickest defender that I've ever played against. And I literally was beating him by a fraction. If I could get the right run on him, but it was only by a fraction, and he was a beautiful mover, a really superb mover was Colin Todd.
Okay, slightly off Premier League topic. It's from Tom Dixon. He said, question for Malcolm, with Leicester and Ipswich promoted, who would you like to see come up through the Championship playoffs? So your choices are Norwich, Leeds, West Brom, or Southampton.
Yeah, I think I would like to see Southampton. I think they deserve it, and are well suited, I think, to the Premiership. And I'll go for Southampton.
I want to see Leeds come up because Leeds are just a lot closer to get to. But it's,
I just named one of the furthest. So.
And with Sunderland and Middlesbrough, it's probably the nearest we'll get to a derby for some time. So Leeds for me definitely, and I can see Peacock White is in the chat as well. He's our resident Leeds fan. So big shout out to you, mate. Good luck in the playoffs, lads. Good luck in the playoffs. What else have we got? Does Trippier come straight back into the team if he's fit, Malcolm? I guess it's a question you could probably ask last week about Nick Pope. We didn't know he was going to be on the bench, but he was. He hasn't come straight back in. So does Trippier come straight back in at the expense of Livramento?
Can I take Pope first?
Yeah.
Because what he needs to do is get some games under his belt and see if he can that he can get back into the England squad for the Euros this summer. And Trippier, I think that he doesn't need to prove himself other than his fitness. That's all he needs to do, and Southgate will welcome him back into the England squad for the summer. He's long enough in the tooth and footballingly intelligent enough to be able to make the decision for himself, is Trippier. That if he knows that he's absolutely right, then he will say to the manager, look, I'm absolutely right if you want me to play. But he won't push himself. I don't think he'll do that at all. He will let the manager make the decision because he's the kind of generous spirit that he's seen two youngsters in those fullback roles doing brilliantly. I have to say, I think that Hall is changing a lot of opinions about him, and particularly Eddie Howe's. He's looked very solid there at left back, and we've started to see him how he was when he had that brilliant run of games for Chelsea, and so I think he's worked his way back into the good books of Eddie Howe as the young lad. But with Trippier, he I think will make the decision, and everybody will respect it. But it'll be interesting. It will be very, very interesting because it takes a while to, at Trippier's age, it takes a while to fully recover and then get back match fitness.
Yeah. No, there's no doubt about that. Talking a little bit about the Nick Pope situation, I think Barry asked a question earlier on about the injury. Yeah, there it is. Steve Malcolm, are you worried about Pope's injury reoccurring? I listened to Mitch when he talked about it. Sounds like it doesn't go away because it weakens the area. That's the problem with goalkeepers, isn't it? I guess with shoulder injuries, Malcolm, and anyone with a shoulder injury, it can pop out at any time.
That's right. Yes, it's. Whether I don't think he's had any surgery, has he, Steve? Do you know of?
I think he has. I mean, it's the same shoulder, Malcolm. So I believe he has had surgery on it, and I think that's the issue. Right.
Okay. Well, hopefully they've sort of pinned it in a way that it'll be stronger than it was beforehand. So yeah, let's see. Shoulders are a funny old things. I got a bit of a shoulder injury when I was playing for Tunbridge when I was 17 years of age, and never had a problem. Once it had healed, I never had a problem all the way through until about 5 years ago, and it started to really ache, and it was in that very same spot. So with shoulders, they never fully heal. The problem is always lingering, and you just hope it's in the background all the while.
Yeah, fingers crossed for him. I would hopefully think that he'd be back to his best by next season. Barry also said, Steve Mal, do you not feel Sean could do with a break now? Big Joe's on his way back, get the chance to heal properly. Look, it's all down to how they do in training, Malcolm, isn't it? There's no doubt about it.
Oh, Sean's not one for a rest.
No, definitely not.
No. He's one of those lads that when he's fit, he can just run all day, every week, every month, and never tire. And he's got that perfect build for distance running, and he runs further in a match than most Premiership players. I'm not just talking of Newcastle, I'm talking about the whole of the Premiership. He puts in more mileage than just about anybody. And in all honesty, I think that he and Joe Linton get on fine together. I really do. Joe Linton, he's that sort of one who will sit and he will give Bruno more license to get forward. And Sean, he's just up and back, and he just eats up the miles.
I've got a slightly shorter show tonight. I will be back, of course, tomorrow with the Amigos at 5 o'clock. So, Malcolm, I'm going to look ahead now to the game at the weekend. We play Brighton, and it is a 3 o'clock kickoff on Saturday, the last home game of the season. Newcastle are searching for the 13th Premier League home win. The dozen that they've achieved so far is the largest top-flight total since they reached 15 in the 02-03 campaign. They've scored in every home game so far this season, and we are 2 goals short of a half-century of Premier League strikes at St James's Park. That total of 48 being previously exceeded only by 54 in 96-97 and 51 in 93-94. Early team news, well, we know that Willock, Miley, Target, Tonali, Botman and Lascelles won't play again this season, and Fabian Schär probably won't. That only leaves Kieran Trippier, who is still anticipated to return in 1 or maybe 3 of the last 3 games. Anthony Gordon and Alexander Isak are both 1 game away from reaching 50 Premier League appearances. As for Brighton, well, Evan Ferguson, Solly March, Jack Hinchelwood, Purvis Estepanan, Kariuk Mitoma, Tarek Lamptey, James Milner, Adam Lallana, and Jean-Paul Van Heck are all out injured. And ahead of their trip to Tyneside, Brighton ended a 6-game winless streak in the Premier League with a 1-0 victory over Aston Villa on Sunday. Away from home this season, Roberto De Zerbi's side have won at Wolves, Manchester United, Nottingham Forest and Sheffield United, the most recent win being at Bramall Lane back in February. Since then, they've lost 3 games and drawn twice, scoring just twice in those 5 games. We know the referee now. It's Darren England, and it's only 2nd game in charge of us this season. That was the other game was the 1-0 defeat at Luton Town, and VAR is Andy Madeley. So, Malcolm, Brighton coming back to town. What's your view on this game at the weekend?
Right, well, their form isn't that good of late,
No.
as you've just mentioned. But some of the football they play is absolutely fabulous, and it's going to be a sensational game of 2 terrific footballing sides. We are quicker than they are, and I think that is what is going to tell in the long run. I do feel that on this occasion, Newcastle United have really got the bit between their teeth at the moment, and I just have that feeling that they're going to end this season on an absolute high. And so, if they're going to do that, they've got to beat Brighton. We've got the home advantage, and it's going to be an absolute competition of quick, direct, fast football. Who can do it better? And my feeling is that Newcastle United will certainly prove themselves the better side. So,
okay, prediction.
I was going to give you that. Yes, I think that Newcastle will be the victors on the day, and I'm going to take us to win 2-0.
I'm going 3-0, Malcolm. It's a positive end to a positive show. Thanks to everybody for the
questions. And the last game of the season, of course, let's go out in style.
Exactly, mate. Great to have you on. I look forward to reuniting with Gibbo next week. But have a good weekend, Malcolm. Enjoy the game. See you next Thursday.
And you, Steve. And everybody.